Have you ever wondered what happens after death? Is there really life after death? Or is everything we believe just an illusion created by our minds? And what if I told you that a philosopher who lived centuries ago revealed such a profound truth about human destiny that even today many strive to hide it? Stay until the end, because the answer may change your view of everything. In this video, we will explore the revolutionary ideas of Baruch Spinoza, one of the most controversial thinkers in history, and how his vision of life, death, and spirituality challenges religion and science in ways you never imagined. Get ready for a deep dive into something that many prefer not to discuss. Baruch Spinoza was born in 1632 in Amsterdam, at a time when philosophical and religious ideas were deeply intertwined. Born into a Jewish family, Spinoza was a great thinker of the 17th century, whose ideas about the nature of reality, God, and the soul directly challenged the religious norms of his time. God is not a personal being, but the very nature of the universe. This statement by Spinoza was revolutionary. For him, God was not a separate being or a cosmic judge, as traditional religion claimed, but the totality of nature, an impersonal principle that governed everything that exists. This meant that the universe and everything in it were not under the control of an individual God, but of a natural and impersonal order, something that sounded heretical and unacceptable to many. Spinoza was not just a philosopher concerned with questioning religion. He had a deeply rational and interconnected view of the universe. For him, reality as a whole was a manifestation of a single substance, which he called God or nature, Deus. In this concept, there is no separation between the creator and the creation, and everything that happens in the world is an expression of this substance. Nature is not just the world around us, but also ourselves, with our minds and bodies. Now imagine, if everything, even the human soul, is part of this unique substance, what does this tell us about life after death? Spinoza presents us with a disconcerting idea. He suggests that the human soul is not something immortal, as many religions teach, but a modification of the divine substance that exists while we are alive. When the body dies, what remains? The soul does not go to heaven or hell. It will not be rewarded or punished. It simply returns to the natural cycle of existence. For Spinoza, death is not a final judgment, but just the conclusion of what he would call a particular mode of existence. His view of death is an eternal return to nature. What we call the soul is an aspect of the divine substance, and, like all matter, it transforms. In other words, the human soul is not a separate being, but an expression of a universal and impersonal force. This thought is profoundly liberating, because it allows us to face death not with fear, but with the acceptance that we are part of something much greater than ourselves. But this raises a crucial question. Was the idea of an eternal soul and continuity beyond death created by humans to fill an existential void? Is faith in life after death, with its promises of salvation or condemnation, not an attempt to give greater meaning to life that would otherwise seem insignificant? Science and faith, two seemingly opposing fields, are actually becoming increasingly interconnected. When it comes to the question of life after death, science seeks objective answers based on evidence and experiments. It asserts that once the brain dies, consciousness also disappears. For scientists, death is the definitive end, and any belief in an afterlife is considered superstition or myth. But on the other hand, religion proposes that the soul is eternal, a reflection of a God who created us and who will judge our actions at the end of life. In a conversation between science and faith, Spinoza emerges as a thinker who challenges both sides. He did not deny the existence of something higher, a universal order, a divine principle that permeates everything. However, he believed that this God was not a personal being, but an impersonal and universal force that governed all of nature. This is where he establishes a breaking point with traditional religions. If God is in everything, then there is no need for a paradise or hell, no soul that ascends or descends. There is only the continuity of life, the natural transition of things. This view, although it may seem desolate to those who believe in an eternal paradise, is profoundly liberating, as it proposes that life is meaningful in itself. There is no need for a final judgment to validate the morality or meaning of our actions. Existence is valid to the extent that we are part of something larger, a web of natural relationships. But is this view of Spinoza a threat to religious control? After all, religion in many cultures survives through the promise of an afterlife. What would happen if people began to believe that death is not a transcendental end, but just a natural change? How would that change morality, fear, and human expectations about what is to come? The relationship between spirituality and life after death has always been one of humanity's most complex and debated issues. Spirituality, in its essence, seeks to understand the meaning of life and the final destiny of the soul. For traditional religions, life after death is the great mystery, the place where actions on earth are rewarded or punished. Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, among others, speak of heaven and hell as spiritual destinations. But what if that view is not the only possibility? Spinoza offers us a radical vision. Spirituality is not in a beyond, but in the very experience of life. Life is, in itself, an expression of divine nature, and the spiritual quest should not be for the beyond, but for understanding our connection to the whole. For him, true spirituality does not involve waiting for something after death, but living fully here and now, recognizing our unity with nature and the entirety of the universe. Perhaps Spinoza's greatest challenge to conventional spirituality is this. He invites us to abandon the idea of a distant God and a destiny after death, and leads us to a deeper understanding that everything we need to comprehend our existence is already here, around us, in the natural order that governs the universe. So, what do you think? Are we doomed to a life of certainty, or is there a greater truth that we are just beginning to understand? Spinoza left us a clear message. Reality may be simpler and deeper than we imagine. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about life after death? Leave your opinion in the comments and share this video with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take the opportunity to do so now, because more revelations are coming. In a world of beliefs and uncertainties, sometimes the most unsettling truth is the one we are afraid to accept. Death is not the end. It is just a new beginning. Are you ready to face this reality?